Heidi here. Welcome to my first ever Q&A video. I thought I'd do this for my 1000 subscriber goal reaching. I'm actually at 1100 now, I think, which is quite fun. So I asked on the community post a few weeks ago your questions for this video, and I have a total of 10 questions. Some of them may take a little longer to answer, but we'll just see how we go. I may have to cut out some rambling, you know. We shall see. And I've written them all down because I use my phone to film and I'm not getting a laptop set up here just so I can read off the screen. So I wrote them down instead, and I guess we'll just get straight into it. Otherwise this video will be an hour long. So the first question is favourite smells / perfumes. And luckily I don't have many favourites questions because I'm not good at favourites. But I guess I'll just tell you smells I enjoy. That's probably the easiest thing. So just general smells, well, there are lots. Things like wood smoke, like fires, campfires, any kind of smell that pertains to the season of the year, really. Like that first cold smell in the air during autumn. Lots of flowers, most kind of flowers I enjoy the smell of. I quite like the smell of hardware shops, you know, that kind of the wood and lots of just kind of tools and stuff. I don't know exactly what the specific smell is of hardware shops that actually gives it that smell, but I just like the general collection of smells that you get from it. Oh, and bike shops as well, like cycle bikes, like the smell of rubber. I quite like that. I'm sure there are lots more, but those are just things that first come to mind. Oh, and I really love the smell of when it's just finished raining. I really love that smell, which actually segues nicely into the perfumes section. I don't actually have that many perfumes. It's just not something I've ever really got around to buying much of. But this one, and it's literally called After the Rain. Not sure how well you can see that. And it's by Iran. Iran is actually an island. I think it's near the Isle of Mull. So anyway, this one is lime, rose and sandalwood. And I say that it is a very accurate after the rain smell. Obviously it doesn't smell precisely the same, but it definitely gives the same sort of essence, I guess you could say. And another perfume of mine I really like is this one. It's by Goth. It's called Deep Night, and I did buy it because it's a dark purple moon, and the lid comes off like that. But the notes, I checked the notes online before I bought it, and it's something like vanilla and amber and I can't remember, but it smells nice. That's all I care about. I'm not very good at identifying specific notes, but yeah, I like the sound of it and it smells really great. I wear that one fairly frequently. And this one is a Jean-Paul. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's just the classic woman's one. My boyfriend got this for me. And yeah, it's really nice. I quite like wearing it for more fancy occasions. It's got that kind of smell to it. And I also really like the bottle. It's a fun design. So next, my background on sewing experience. Did I study at school or 100% self-taught? When did I start? Etc. So, in terms of sewing experience, like, I didn't study it at school. I did take textiles at GCSE level, which is around 15, 16 years old. But that basically had nothing to do with sewing clothes, much to my disappointment. I mean, they showed us how to use a sewing machine, which I already knew everything that they'd already told us. But yeah, in terms of actually learning to sew, I learnt to hand sew when I was, well, basically when I was learning to read, so around 4 or 5 years old, I first started using the needle and thread. And then I just did kind of little crafty projects. From then, I I can't remember precisely when my mum taught me to use the sewing machine, but she did show me just kind of basic stitches, the basic functions of it. And then a little bit further on, I made clothes for my Barbie dolls and other dolls out of old socks. So I guess you could say those were the first clothes I made, even though they weren't actual clothing. But yeah, it just kind of developed from there. After that, I spent a lot of time as a teenager taking apart clothes rather than trying to make them, because at the time I didn't really know how clothes went together. So in order to find that out, I just took them apart first so I could see how the seams worked, how all the stitching was done, things like that. And then from then I just started experimenting and making my own things. Of course, at first things weren't exactly as they are now. I think the first item of clothing I ever made was a skirt, and like the top band bit of it I made from a t-shirt, which I didn't put any sort of waistband on it. So as you can imagine, it was not very stable, and it moved around quite a lot. And then on the bottom I put just some scrap fabric, and it worked fairly well. I did actually wear it quite a lot. I do actually have the bottom part of it still, like the kind of scrap fabric bit. I'm going to put that onto something else at some point. But yeah, from then, just lots of experimenting, lots of trial and error. And even now, I don't really do things the proper technical way, I guess you could say. A lot of the time, I just have an idea, find some fabric and go, ooh, let's see what happens. Sit in front of the sewing machine for a bit, and I suddenly have an item of clothing. Or at least that's kind of what it feels like sometimes. I don't know. It's just very, I guess you could say, intuitive, my sewing. I just figure things out as I go most of the time. A lot of the time I will have a design drawn out, so I have something to work against. Yeah, I just kind of go with it and see what happens most of the time, which I know isn't very helpful to anyone else trying to learn to sew, because I'm just like, I just pull it out of my head and I just do what comes to mind. Yeah, I think that covers that question in a very rambling, roundabout way. So next, when did you get into the alt scene? Bit of background. So I guess it started when I was about 13, 14, because as a child my mum would always just buy clothes for me, and I was quite happy wearing those. I guess you could say I didn't really have a concept of shopping. I didn't really understand going shopping for clothes because I guess I'd never done it. And to me, clothes were just something you have to put on. I never really saw them as a creative outlet before. But then when I was about 14, I had to start buying my own clothes because all of the clothes my mum had bought for me were getting too small. And for a while I just wore really, really random stuff. I was still getting to a point where I saw clothes as fashion, not just function. For example, I had a pair of shorts from River Island. They were just denim cut-off shorts, very basic standard stuff. And then I did get a t-shirt from Hollister. It was bright orange, and I got it because it was nice and comfortable, nice and soft fabric. When I really started thinking properly about what I wanted to wear and what I actually liked, it was kind of just black clothes, like the more alternative sort of things. I definitely wouldn't say I was goth to start with. I mean, I was interested in the subculture. I did start doing lots of research, but of course the first bands that get recommended to you are Sisters of Mercy, Bauhaus, that kind of thing, and that didn't really interest me at the time. So I was into lots more metal. I mean, it was pretty much just metal that I liked. I'd say the first alternative band that I actually started listening to was Shinedown. They're much more hard rock metal sort of thing. I do still listen to them now. They are one of the few bands from back then that I still listen to. When I was around, I guess you could say 14 to 16, I was much more I would never call myself emo, like even though a lot of the music that I listened to was that kind of thing, but even then and now, like I wouldn't say that I was emo, because that was never really my kind of scene. I was much more of a metalhead. A lot of that music I don't really listen to anymore, like Black Veil Brides, Asking Alexandria, Motionless in White. I mean, I still kind of sometimes like their music, but I don't really listen to it very much. Yeah, that kind of thing. There are loads more bands, but I can't think of them straight away. And I guess I still did have a few bands that I still listen to now, like Fictional. I did start listening to them quite soon, quite early on. But yeah, it was a very gradual, slow process. And then after I was listening to lots of metal, I got into kind of EBM, lots of industrial bands, which I would say in terms of music tastes, I am definitely more of a rivet head. Like I like more EBM and industrial than I do goth music. I do listen to quite a few goth bands now, much more so than I did, say, 5 years ago, because I've only, within the past few years, actually found some goth music, some goth bands that I genuinely really enjoy, because I did listen to Sisters of Mercy to start with, but that was more of like, I am trying this out, I'm trying to see if I like it, and I guess I do like them, but they're not really my go-to. So yeah, it was kind of a general progression, just finding things, listening to them, enjoying them, and then quite a few bands I listened to for a while and then just didn't go back to. So it's just been a kind of general progression, moving through different genres, I guess, obviously still within the kind of alternative umbrella. Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to summarise it. As for favourite bands and artists, goth and non-goth, as I said, I would consider myself more of a rivet head. Although I guess by now it's more 50-50 in terms of numbers of different bands. I don't really have favourites of bands because there are so many and I just love a huge variety of things. So I could never choose one single favourite. And I'm not going to recite them all right now because I would never remember them all anyway. So I will just, on screen now, put up lots of bands and you can pause it to read them all if you would like, because I already know that there are loads. So yeah, these ones. Next question, what character from a movie or TV series do you wish you had the closet of? See, this is a difficult one for me because I really love my own wardrobe. I guess just to add to my own wardrobe, I do take a lot of inspiration for my post-apocalyptic things from the 100. So I guess, like, if I could just pick and choose individual items from the 100, that series. Apart from that, I can't really think of anything. Yeah, there's nothing that's really particularly stood out to me as me thinking, oh, I really want that specific outfit. In terms of TV and any kind of visual media, I usually just take a kind of general inspiration. I don't tend to gravitate towards one specific thing and go, I want that, I need to recreate that. I take a wide range of inspiration from loads of different places, so I don't really have any one specific outfit. So next, views on the best goth scents / perfumes, what they are. I'm not entirely certain what the intention of the meaning of this question is. I'm guessing you mean like kind of classic goth scents and perfumes. And they asked about a few different brands and such. I've not actually bought from any kind of goth perfume places. I would like to, like Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, for example. I would love to browse through their stuff. Anything that's a kind of smoky, wood smoky kind of smell, I would definitely love to have, but it's just a case of finding one that sounds like it would be something that I'd like. I mean, to be honest, with perfumes, I like most things really. So I can't really speak to any specific brands. I mean, apart from that, I guess kind of goth or gothic perfumes and scents are just smells that people wouldn't usually think are nice smells. You know, like cold night air, graveyard dirt, you know, all that good stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't say there's any one specific, apart from patchouli. I mean, that's a classic goth smell, and hippie smell actually. Yeah, I couldn't really say any one specific thing. I'm not sure if I've really interpreted that correctly, but yeah, I did my best. And then they also asked my take on what a dark techno-goth fragrance would be. I'm guessing you mean cybergoth, because techno is a different genre altogether. But yeah, a kind of cybergoth fragrance. I mean, the one thing that comes to mind for me would be smelling like you're a cyborg. So like some sort of machine oil smell, but kind of in a perfume format. I feel like that would be a fun one. Basically just smelling like you're made of metal. I think that would be good. I think my tiny ring light is running out of battery, so I will try to be quick with the last ones. I am using an LED strip as well, which unfortunately does not have a white colour, so it's a really pale blue. But you know, it adds atmosphere. It's fine. Okay, so the next one is kind of a chunk. Do you have a way of assessing charity shops and working out if they might have treasures? Any kind of mental checklist that tells you if it's worth rummaging or not? And the short answer to that is no. I think you can only really tell if somewhere has treasures if you look. There's no kind of mental checklist that I have. I mean, with secondhand shopping, you can never really tell what you're going to find, which is what I really love about it. So yeah, you just have to get in there and look. If you go to lots of charity shops, if you go to the same ones quite regularly, you will find that some shops you find more stuff in than others. And if you're, like for example, if I were to be having a quick trip, then I'd probably just go to those ones, because I know that I have found more stuff there in the past. So there's a kind of higher likelihood that I will find something that I like. But, you know, that's the thing, you just never know what you're going to find. So if you have the energy and time to look, then look everywhere. I know that I certainly don't always have the time and the energy to look at everything in every corner of every shop that I know is in the area. There are definitely things that you can do to make the process quicker, like just looking along the edge of the hangers. If something catches your eye, then you can pull it out, have a look. A lot of the time, if I see mesh on a shoulder or an interesting looking sleeve, then I will have a quick look. But generally, because charity shops are so small, it's easy enough just to look through every single thing that's there, which is something that I quite often do. My attitude is just, you never know what you're going to find, so look at everything. To sum it up, I guess. Next, if you could change one thing about the subculture, what would it be? I guess with this one, it's not just in terms of the subculture, it's in terms of humans in general. But if everyone could just have a bit more common sense, that would solve a lot of problems. Just being a bit more logical, I guess you could say. Because obviously goth, it's a subculture. You have to have some sort of boundaries, otherwise it's not a thing. You can't have a field without a fence around it, because if you don't have a fence around it, it's not a field. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that gatekeeping is good, because I think gatekeeping tends to relate more to people being overly critical and saying, oh, you can only listen to this, you can only do that, blah de blah. And really, like, it's a music-based subculture. You listen to the music, you're in, basically. Like, there's no other kind of criteria. You don't have to do anything else. People seem to have all sorts of crazy ideas about what goth is, what goth isn't, and like that's all it comes down to, really. And I think people need to remember that and be aware of that. I guess it might be down to outside influences where people think that like goths do this, goths do that, like there's some sort of enigma that you just see floating about. Like, no, we're people, and there's no such thing as goth food. There's no such thing as like just, you know, making every aspect of your life goth. Like, that's just not how it is. Everything doesn't have to be black. Everything doesn't have to be spooky and serious, you know, or whatever people think goths are. I think to sum that ramble up, the one thing I would change is just more logic. But I guess that would mean changing the way people think, which isn't possible. But, you know, I think every person on this planet could benefit from being more logical. But, I mean, that's just coming from me. That's what I'm driven by. Obviously, that's not realistic at all. Like, that could never happen. Everyone is too varied to all be logical and straightforward in that way. Question number 9. If you could invite 5 people... Ah, yes. Can't read my own handwriting here. If you could invite 5 people, dead or alive, to dinner, who would they be? See, again, this is a difficult one because I don't really like inviting people to dinner. Unless they're close friends, of course. And I've never had any close friends die, so... I guess this pertains more to, like, public figures and historical people that have died. I guess maybe the Queen? Yeah, because obviously she lived a very long, interesting life. I feel like she'd have a lot of interesting stories. So yeah, the Queen will be one. Maybe just someone from an ancient civilization, like someone from ancient Egyptian times, just to find out more about that kind of time period. I can't really think of anyone else, to be honest. And so the final question is places that I would like to travel. And I mean, pretty much anywhere in the world, to be honest. I really, really want to go to the US. More for natural stuff, like the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, basically any sort of impressive landscape I want to be in, on, looking at. I guess I'd go to a few cities just to kind of see what they're like New York. Oh, I'd want to go to the fabric shop, Mood, definitely, with a small fortune to spend there, of course. I feel like I'd want to visit Los Angeles, again, just to have been there. In terms of still within the UK, I seem to remember there's some sort of nuclear bunker in London. Definitely want to go there. Absolutely, yes. I've been to quite a few countries in Europe. I've never actually been out of Europe, so I'd definitely want to go to like some sort of East Asian countries as well. I'm not sure about Australia, I have to say. The wildlife there is not something I want to come face to face with. But I guess there are some areas that would be quite visually stunning to look at. I definitely want to go to the Great Wall of China. Any kind of historical kind of attraction like that I would want to see. Iceland, any kind of Nordic countries I really want to go to. Anywhere that has an impressive castle, definitely. I want to see as many castles as humanly possible within my lifetime. And when I say castle, I mean like medieval kind of castle, you know, crenellations, moat, drawbridge, that kind of thing. Anything else is a fancy manor house, quite frankly. At least by my definition of castle. So that is all of the questions that I received. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much, or at least I'm able to piece together the rambling in a cohesive way. Good luck editing me. So thank you for making it to the end of this very rambly Q&A. I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!